Ryan and I have been over this a dozen times. The pitch is too important for you to tag along. You're great at the little tasks, but when it comes to the big conversations with people who actually have money, you just don't have the presence. They can smell hesitation a mile away, and you always want to play it safe and talk about sustainable growth like we're running a lemonade stand. We need to swing big, and we can't do that with you there making us look conservative. Besides, the two of us have been carrying the vision for months now. You've been helpful with the spreadsheets, but this is the part where the real work happens. Stay home, keep the lights on here, and we'll cut you in when the check clears. Don't give me that look. It's not like we're cutting you out completely. Some of us just know how to play at this level, and some of us are better off staying in the background where we belong. Hi, my name is Lauren Bennett. I am 28 years old. I sat there on the second-hand couch in the Austin apartment we had all crammed into 6 months earlier, the one with the leaking faucet, and the neighbor who blasted reggaeton at 2 a.m., and I felt something inside me go very still. Kayla Thompson, my best friend, since we were 19 and stupid enough to think matching tattoos meant forever, had just finished telling me I was not invited to the investor pitch she and my boyfriend, Ryan Ellis, had scheduled in San Francisco. The same pitch I had stayed up until 4 a.m. building the financial model for. The same pitch we had all agreed would finally get the event planning app off the ground. If you have ever watched the two people you trusted most in the world decide together that you are the weak link, you already know the taste that filled my mouth right then. It was metallic and small. I did not cry. I did not yell. I just nodded once the way you do when you're still trying to convince yourself you misheard. Kayla kept talking, her voice light like she was doing me a favor. She said the investors wanted energy and polish and that I had a habit of overthinking every risk until the room got quiet. Ryan stood behind her, arms crossed, nodding at the floor, like the pattern in the cheap rug was suddenly fascinating. Neither of them looked at me for more than a second. I remember thinking very clearly that this was not the first time Kayla had decided what I was allowed to touch. In college, she had talked me out of applying for the competitive marketing internship because she said it would stress me out too much, then took the same internship herself, and later told everyone I had never been interested. I had laughed it off then. I was laughing less now. The next morning, I woke up before either of them and checked the joint business account on my phone. We had put everything into it, my grandmother's small inheritance, the money Ryan had saved from his old tech job, even the last of Kayla's credit card limit. The balance was lower than it should have been, by almost $8,000. I scrolled through the transactions. 3 withdrawals in the last 2 weeks, all labeled vendor deposits, but paid to accounts I did not recognize. One of them had gone to a name I did recognize, Ryan's personal checking account. I sat on the edge of the bathtub with the door locked and stared at the screen until the numbers blurred. Then I opened the Messages app on the old iPhone Ryan had given me when he upgraded. He had asked me to find the charger for it the night before. I had not been looking for anything, I just wanted to help. The first screenshot was from 2 weeks earlier. Kayla to Ryan Lawrence Trust Fund is basically gone anyway. She keeps pretending there's more, but I checked the statements she showed us last month. We can cut her loose after the round and say the numbers didn't work out. She'll believe it. She always does. The second one was from Ryan, timestamped the same night she's been acting weird about the budget. What if she starts asking questions at the pitch? Kayla had replied with a single line that made my stomach twist. Then we tell everyone she's been unstable since her grandma died. People will side with us, they always do. I did not throw the phone, I did not scream. I took a screenshot of the screenshots, emailed them to myself, and deleted the originals from the old device. My hands were steady. That scared me more than anything. Later that day, I called Mia Patel, the only person from my old marketing job who had stayed in touch after I quit to go full-time on the app. Mia had never liked Kayla, she answered on the second ring. You okay? She asked, no small talk. I told her what I had found. I did not cry until I said the part about Ryan agreeing that I was unstable. Mia was quiet for a long moment. Lauren, I hate to say this, but I saw Kayla at a coffee shop last week with one of the investors you guys were supposed to meet. They were laughing like they already knew each other. She introduced him as her silent partner. I thought she was joking. The line went quiet between us. I could hear Mia's office in the background, the same copier that used to jam every Monday. I'm sending you the screenshots, I said. My voice sounded like someone else's. Don't show anyone yet. I need to figure out what to do. Be careful, Mia said. People like Kayla don't lose quietly. I hung up and sat on the floor of the bathroom again, the same spot where I had found the messages. The apartment was too quiet. Ryan and Kayla had gone out for strategy coffee. They had not asked if I wanted to come. I opened my laptop and started a new folder on the desktop. I named it Evidence. I dropped the screenshots in. Then I opened a blank document and began typing every date I could remember when Kayla had made a decision for the three of us without asking me. The list was longer than I expected. By the time they came home laughing about something I was not part of, I had already decided I was not going to stay quiet forever. But I also knew that whatever happened next, I was probably going to lose more than just the app. If you have ever realized that the people you built your life around were keeping score the entire time, you know that particular kind of quiet that settles in your chest. It is not peace, it is the sound of something breaking that you cannot put back together. I closed the laptop and smiled at them when they walked in. Kayla asked if I'd eaten. I said I had. Ryan asked if everything was okay. I said it was fine. Neither of them noticed that my hands were still shaking. The rest of that evening passed in the kind of careful silence that only happens when everyone is pretending nothing just changed. I made pasta because it was cheap and familiar, and they ate it at the kitchen island while talking about flight times to San Francisco like I was already invisible. That Kayla kept using we every time she mentioned the pitch. Ryan kept nodding. I kept smiling like my face still belonged to me. Later, when the apartment finally went dark, I waited until their bedroom door clicked shut. Then I took Ryan's old phone into the bathroom, locked the door, and opened the messages again. There were more screenshots than I'd seen the first time. One showed Kayla sending Ryan a photo of a bank transfer. The caption read, "Told you she wouldn't notice." Grandma's money is basically dust at this point anyway. We'll say the demo costs ran over. Another one time stamped 3 days earlier was Ryan replying, "What if she checks the joint account before we leave?" Kayla's answer sat there like a bruise. Then we tell her she's been spending too much on emotional support takeout since Ruth died. People will believe it. She's been fragile for months. I saved every single one. My hands were cold but steady. I emailed the new files to myself, deleted the thread from the old phone, and put it back exactly where Ryan had left it. Then I sat on the closed toilet lid and stared at the wall until the shapes in the dark started to look like the outline of every favor Kayla had ever asked me for, and every time I had said yes without thinking. The next morning, I texted Mia Patel while they were still asleep. She met me at a coffee shop 2 blocks away, the one we used to go to when I still had my old marketing job. She slid into the booth across from me without ordering anything. "You look like you didn't sleep," she said. I showed her the new screenshots on my phone. She read them without speaking, then pushed the phone back toward me like it had burned her. "Lauren, this isn't just about the money. Kayla's been telling people at the co-working space that you've been struggling since your grandmother passed. She made it sound like you were the reason the app kept getting delayed. Alex Rivera, the investor she's been meeting with alone, he asked me last week if you were still on the team. I told him yes. I shouldn't have had to answer that question. The name Alex Rivera landed like a stone in my stomach. I had never met him. Kayla had described him as interested but cautious. Now I understood why he only wanted to meet with her and Ryan. I went back to the apartment after Mia left. Tyler Hayes, one of the few mutual friends from college who still texted me without Kayla in the group chat, had sent a message while I was gone. "Hey, heard you're sitting this SF trip out? Kayla said you've been burnt out and needed space. You good? We should grab a drink when you're feeling better." I stared at the screen. Burnt out. Space. The same words Kayla had used when she talked me out of that internship years ago. I typed 3 different replies and deleted all of them. Instead, I opened the evidence folder on my laptop and added Tyler's text as another data point. The folder was getting thick. That afternoon, I tried one more time to talk to them like adults. They were packing in the living room when I walked in. I kept my voice even. I saw the withdrawals from the joint account, $8,000 in 2 weeks. Can one of you explain what the vendor deposits were actually for? Kayla didn't even look up from folding a blouse. Oh my God, Lauren. Again with the money. It's for the pitch materials. High quality mock ups cost money. You would know that if you had been paying attention instead of hovering over every receipt like a paranoid accountant. Ryan stayed quiet, zipping a suitcase. I turned to him. Ryan. He shrugged without meeting my eyes. Kayla handles the creative spend. I trust her. Kayla laughed short and sharp. See, even Ryan thinks you're overreacting. You've been like this since Ruth died. Everything is a threat. Everything is someone stealing from you. It's exhausting to be around, honestly. The words hit exactly where she wanted them to. My grandmother's name in her mouth felt like a violation. I felt my throat close for a second, but I forced the next sentence out anyway. I'm coming to San Francisco. I'll book my own ticket if I have to. I built half the financial model. I deserve to be in the room. Kayla finally looked at me. The smile she gave me was the same one she had used the night before when she told me to stay in my lane. Lauren, if you show up uninvited, Alex is going to think we can't even manage our own team. He already asked why you weren't on the original call list. I told him you were dealing with some personal stuff after your grandma and needed to step back for your mental health. He understood completely. People always understand when someone is fragile. She said the last word, like it was a diagnosis she had already written on my chart. I stood there in the middle of the living room while they finished packing. Neither of them asked if I wanted to come to the airport to see them off. When the door closed behind them, I stayed exactly where I was, listening to the silence they left behind. I opened my laptop again. The evidence folder stared back at me. I had enough to prove they had been moving money and rewriting the story about me. But Kayla had already started rewriting it for everyone else first. Tyler believed her. Alex Rivera believed her. Even Ryan, who was supposed to love me, had chosen the version where I was the problem. If I walked into that pitch meeting now, I would look like the unstable ex who couldn't let go. If I stayed home, they would take the funding, cut me out, and tell everyone I'd walked away because I couldn't handle the pressure. Either way, I was already losing the version of my life I had trusted. I closed the folder and opened a new document instead. At the top, I typed one sentence. What happens if I show them the truth and nobody cares? I didn't have an answer yet, but I knew I was running out of time to find one before they landed in San Francisco and finished what they had started. I booked the ticket to San Francisco anyway. It felt like the last decision that still belonged to me before they finished rewriting the entire story. The flight was short and miserable. I sat in the middle seat with the evidence folder open on my phone the whole way, reading the same screenshots until the words stopped hurting and just felt like facts. When I landed, I didn't go to the hotel first. I went straight to the small conference room Kayla had booked for the pitch. I still had the building access code from when we set up the demo accounts together. I told myself I was just going to hand over the proof and leave. I told myself I wasn't going to beg. They were already in the room when I walked in. Kayla stood at the front with her laptop open, practicing her smile in the reflection of the darkened screen. Ryan sat at the table scrolling on his phone. Alex Rivera, the investor I had never met, leaned back in his chair with a coffee in his hand. Tyler Hayes was there too, taking notes like he had been invited to witness history. Two other people I didn't recognize sat with their phones out, probably other potential backers. Kayla saw me first. The smile dropped for half a second before she forced it back into place. Lauren, she said, voice bright and surprised. I thought you were staying home to rest. Everyone, this is Lauren. She helped with some of the early spreadsheets. Alex Rivera stood up and offered his hand like we were meeting at a networking event. Alex, good to finally put a face to the name. Kayla mentioned you've been stepping back for health reasons. I hope you're feeling better. I didn't shake his hand. I pulled out my phone instead. I have something you should see before you give them any money, I said. My voice came out steadier than I expected. Screenshots of messages between Kayla and Ryan about moving money out of the joint account we all funded. They labeled the transfers as vendor costs. One of them went straight to Ryan's personal account. There are more about how they planned to tell everyone I was unstable so they could cut me out after the round. I opened the folder and started scrolling through the images on the big screen at the front of the room. The room went quiet except for the sound of my finger tapping the screen. Kayla let out a small broken laugh. Oh my God, Lauren. This is exactly what I was worried about. You've been spiraling since your grandmother died, and now you're inventing conspiracies because you feel left out. I told you this would happen if you came. Ryan finally looked up from his phone. He didn't defend me. He just said, quiet and flat, Lauren, you're making this worse for yourself. Tyler shifted in his seat and wouldn't meet my eyes. Alex Rivera's expression changed from polite curiosity to careful distance. He glanced at Kayla like he was checking which version of the story he was supposed to believe. I kept going anyway. I showed the transfer records. I showed the message where Kayla said my grandmother's money was basically dust and they could blame the missing funds on my grief. I showed the part where they decided I was the fragile one who would always take it. Kayla started crying before I finished. Real tears, the kind that make everyone in the room uncomfortable. She covered her face with both hands and let her shoulders shake. I can't do this anymore, she said through the tears. I've been trying to protect her. She's been accusing us of stealing for weeks. I thought if we just got the funding, she would calm down, but she's getting worse. Ryan and I have been walking on eggshells trying not to set her off. I didn't want to say anything because I know how much she's been through with Ruth, but this is too much. The room believed her. I could feel it shift. Alex Rivera nodded slowly like he was watching a sad documentary. Tyler put his hand on Kayla's shoulder like he was comforting a victim. Even the two strangers I didn't know looked at me with that careful, pitying expression people wear when they decide someone else is the problem. I stood there with my phone still open to the last screenshot and realized I had already lost. The truth was in my hand, and it didn't matter. Kayla had spent months planting the version where I was the unstable one who couldn't let go. She had done it so well that when I finally showed proof, I looked like the person she had described. Alex Rivera cleared his throat. I think we should pause the meeting. Lauren, maybe you should go home and get some rest. We can follow up once things are calmer. Kayla wiped her eyes and gave him a grateful, shaky smile. Thank you. I'm so sorry you had to see this. I didn't argue. I put my phone back in my bag, turned around, and walked out of the room. Nobody followed me. The door clicked shut behind me, and I heard Kayla's voice start up again, softer now, explaining to them how she had been trying to handle my episode quietly so it wouldn't affect the deal. I made it to the hotel before the shaking started. I sat on the edge of the bed with my suitcase still zipped and cried until my throat hurt. Not the quiet kind of crying, the ugly, gasping kind that makes your whole body hurt. I cried for the money I had put in that was already gone. I cried for the years I had spent defending Kayla to everyone who warned me about her. I cried for Ryan, who had chosen the easier story over the person he said he loved. And I cried because even with the proof in my hand, I had still ended up alone in a hotel room while they closed the deal without me. When the crying finally slowed, I did the only thing that still felt like mine. I opened my laptop and emailed Mark Sullivan, my old boss, at the marketing firm I had left to go all in on the app. I told him I was ready to come back if he had space. He replied within an hour and said there was a junior role open and the team had missed me. I booked a flight home for the next morning. Before I boarded, I blocked Kayla's number, then Ryan's, then every mutual contact I could think of who had chosen her version. Tyler texted me once more before I blocked him too. Hope you get the help you need. I didn't answer. Back in Austin, I moved out of the apartment while they were still in San Francisco celebrating the funding round they had secured without me. I left my key on the counter and took only what I could carry. Mia Patel helped me load the last boxes into her car. She didn't say I told you so, she just hugged me in the parking lot and said you did the right thing by walking away even if it doesn't feel like it yet. I started seeing Dr. Elena Vargas twice a month. At first, I just sat in her office and said nothing. Later, I told her about the screenshots and the pitch meeting and how Kayla had used my grandmother's death like a weapon. Elena listened without trying to fix it. One session, she asked me what I would have done differently if I could go back to the night Kayla first told me I wasn't invited. I thought about it for a long time. I would have believed myself sooner, I said. I would have left before they had the chance to make me the villain in my own story. Jordan Lee reached out once after everything blew up. He said he had heard conflicting versions and wanted to hear mine. I met him for coffee and showed him the folder. He read it quietly, then told me he was sorry he hadn't asked more questions earlier. We still text sometimes, but it's different now. The easy closeness is gone. I'm learning to be okay with that. Sarah Klein, the contract lawyer Mia recommended, looked over the original operating agreement we had signed when we started the app. She told me I had very little legal ground to stand on because Kayla and Ryan had structured everything. So the two of them controlled the voting rights. The money I had put in was treated as a loan with no repayment terms. Sarah said fighting it would cost more than I would ever get back and would probably drag my name through more public mud. I thanked her and paid the bill. I didn't file anything. Mark Sullivan gave me my old desk back with a small raise and no questions about why I had left in the first place. My new colleague, Chris Delgado, sits across from me and makes terrible coffee runs but never asks about the startup. It feels ordinary in the best way. Kayla and Ryan got their funding. The app launched 6 months later with a different name and different financials. I saw the announcement on LinkedIn. Kayla posted a long caption about building something real with the right team. Ryan liked it. I didn't click on the link. Sometimes I still wake up angry, not the hot kind of angry, the cold, tired kind that sits in your chest and asks if any of it was worth it. I lost the money. I lost the version of my life where I had a best friend and a boyfriend who felt like home. I lost the social circle that had once felt like chosen family. Kayla kept the narrative, the funding, and the story where she was the steady one who had to manage my breakdown. But I kept something too. I kept the part of me that refused to stay quiet just to make everyone else comfortable. I kept the ability to look at proof and believe it even when the people I loved told me I was crazy. And I kept the quiet knowledge that walking away, even when it leaves you with nothing but your own name, is still a choice that belongs to you. I don't know if that makes me stronger or just lonelier. Some days it feels like both. Thank you for listening to my story. If your best friend and the person you loved most decided together that your truth was too inconvenient to let stand, would you still show up with the evidence or would you have walked away sooner than I did? Drop your thoughts below. I'd really like to know.